What is going on, Southeast Michigan podcast? We're back after, I want to say, about a week and a half off, if you don't count the instant post reaction of the Frozen 4 game versus Boston College. But yeah, thank you for watching. I always say that, watching. Thank you for watching and or listening to the show. Like, share, subscribe wherever you you get them, wherever you get your podcasts. And like I said, or like I've said before, we're up on YouTube. Been over a couple months now, maybe just under a month and a half. So click that bell, subscribe there for more content, or the visual at least. And then in the description box in below will be uh, the links to the Facebook page and the Twitter handle if you'd like to chirp at me or talk discourse on Mark Zuckerberg. So we have a lot to get to. Things have kind of transpired over this last week or so, some positive, some negative. And in segment one here, we'll get to our news and notes first. Right off the top, EA Sports. So Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler and a few other people along the way have kind of dropped a little, Easter eggs and hints to how this EA Sports video game is going to be and when it's going to come out. And I can't remember if I mentioned it in the last episode, or not the post game, but the last episode about Dolph Kleeman. I think that's how you say his name. Basically, just reconfirming July 19th as that release date. Herbstreit has been on Pat McAfee and numerous other podcasts talking about it. So while they are wrapping up the voiceovers and the different broadcasts, it's been obviously something to talk about and get excited for. Recently, over at Bring NCAA Back on Instagram, who I've name dropped numerous times here on the pod, over 12,300 FBS players have opted into College Football 25. Not every athlete that opts in is going to be guaranteed to be in the game, according to Matt Brown. Matt Brown is also another person I've name dropped before, kind of the EA insider guy. He tweeted, quote, "Reminder for fans who might be confused about the 12,300 number. More than 85 players per team can opt in to the proposed NIL deal, but opting in does not guarantee the athlete will be in the game. So one team could theoretically have like 105 athletes opt in," end quote. There is apparently 2 weeks left in the window for student athletes to opt in, and this game will have roster updates during its lifespan, so players will probably be added as the time goes on. So, even if a player opts in, if they're, you know, guys like Jake Thaw, they're not going to be probably in the video game, but they could still get their piece of the pie and a free copy of the game either way. So there's that. The Michigan Burgergate news kind of updated itself. Obviously, Ohio State fans are gobbling this up, suckling at the teat. This isn't, a lot of Michigan fans are, mocking them, waiting for the hammer to drop. But this is obviously Burgergate. This has nothing to do with Connor Stallion. So we'll go ahead and we'll read this up a little bit and kind of fill you in with where we're at for the infractions that Michigan is going to be handed here in the near future. So Michigan football had been found to have both impermissible contact with recruits during the ever-changing COVID landscape, as well as Jim Harbaugh having reportedly misled investigators after purchasing a cheeseburger for a recruit on campus. In terms of the former, the NCAA has announced that it's come to a resolution with penalties ranging from 3 years of probation, a fine, and recruiting restrictions. Michigan and 5 individuals who currently or previously worked for its pro football program have reached an agreement with the NCAA enforcement staff on recruiting violations and coaching activities by non-coaching staff members that occurred within the football program and the appropriate penalties for those violations. A committee on infractions panel had approved the agreement. One former coach did not participate in the agreement, and that portion of the case will be considered separately by the Committee on Infractions, after which the committee will release its full decision. The agreed upon violations involve impermissible in person recruiting contacts during COVID 19 dead period, impermissible tryouts, and the program exceeding the number of allowed accountable coaches when non coaching staff members engaged in on and off the field coaching activities, including providing technical and tactical skills instruction to student athletes. The negotiated resolution also involved the school's agreement that the underlying violations demonstrated a head coach responsibility violation and the former football head coach failed to meet its responsibility to cooperate with the investigation. School also agreed that it failed to deter and detect impermissible recruiting contacts and did not ensure that the football program adhered to the rules for non-coaching staff members. So, in all, your rival fan bases are going to be hooing and hawing about this, but let's be honest. Uh, you know, Michigan football is not going to be the only program that dabbles into this sort of thing and gets away with it or just gets hit with infractions in general. We look at most recently Georgia, Tennessee. It happens everywhere. Not saying it should be excused by any means, but it's not nothing serious. We'll obviously get into the whole counter stallions thing down the road. If and when that appears again, I would say if it's going to reappear soon, and obviously we'll tackle that when it does. Throughout if you've been here with me since the beginning of this podcast, all of last season, we talked about it. I didn't shy away from getting into how negative it was and down to the facts basically. So, we'll talk about it, and I'll give you my up close and personal and just frank, honest opinions about everything, and that especially. Next up, some recruiting and transfer portal stuff. Um, we'll go from the big three sports. We'll get football, basketball, and hockey in here because all of them are really relevant now. Football. Wide receiver Jake Thaw transfers to Delaware. He announced on social media that he is staying in a winged helmet. So, if those who don't know, the Delaware Blue Hens basically rock the winged helmet like Michigan does, just a little bit lighter shade of the blue. And so, if you watch Joe Flacco highlights from when he was getting drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, a lot of the highlights that they were showing obviously was him almost in like a Michigan home uniform. So, there you have that. Wide receiver Christian Dixon entered the portal Wednesday. And so I won't spoil it now, but when we get into our mailbag questions, we will be revisiting this topic or this position group specifically. Basketball. Terrace Reed transfers to UConn. So that's a big blow. Obviously, I've talked about, since him and the other Michigan players for Juwan Howard entered the portal, I thought, if there was any shot to get him to come back, do it, under Dusty May's tutelage. Who knows, maybe Terrace Reed has a breakout season and progresses further into his collegiate career and getting himself prepped and ready for the NBA. Doug McDaniel, I posted on the Facebook page. I've retweeted it, I'm sure. But if you don't know, he's moving on to Kansas State. George Washington III is coming back. And so while he hasn't really had a starting a role or just really any like decent playing time period. He's coming back. He was a former 4-star recruit, so you never know. Maybe Dusty May can unlock something that Jawan couldn't, or at least progress him further. Michigan is trending for Scottie Pippen's son, Justin Pippen, a 4-star 2 guard. And so outside of that, I mean, basketball, that's really about it. There's a lot of Florida Atlantic players that have since Dusty May left, and so one of them is Vlad Golden, and that would be an absolutely tremendous get for the Wolverines. Give me 1 second here. I thought I wrote that down, but apparently I did not. Um, we'll get into that's one of the more of the Dusty May stuff will come later in the show because that was one of our questions in Mailbag. So I won't delve into that any further. But well, yeah, we'll get into that in a second. Into the hockey. So yes, Michigan, drops that one to Boston College 4-0, and while it was a close game, if you're watching or listening to on YouTube right now, that episode is only on the audio version. I kind of just did that. I don't know. Maybe I was vacuuming. I was doing something. Um, no, I wasn't vacuuming that late at night. But no, I was down in the man cave, and I'm like, I don't want to get out the camera. I don't want to get all the equipment out. So I just did a hurry up and did a 10-minute post game. So if you want to check that out, you can hit the the avenues for that. But so Denver wins its 10th national championship over Boston College and wins 2-0, and it was just a tremendous hockey game. I didn't watch every minute of it. It's just one of those things where it's like it's on a school night, right? It's on a work night. It's on late, just like the men's basketball national championship game. It's like those start at like 9:30, and just like with the Boston College Michigan game, like that got a late start because the Denver Boston U game went in overtime, and it's just like by the time it's over, it's like you know you go pee and then it's time for bed. It's midnight, but Denver was tied with Michigan at 9 titles apiece. Obviously now they are the number one program in the country with 10, and two in the last few years. They won in 2022. So Denver is playing very well, and to handle Boston College like they did, every game is matchups, right? So who knows if Michigan beat Boston College, how they would have fared against Denver. Either way, Michigan's three straight trips to the Frozen Four and just cannot close it out. Um, and so yeah, going into the portal section here, defensive men Tim Lovell from Arizona State and Boston College. He played Boston College, then went to Arizona State. Lovell notched 12 goals and 65 assists for 77 points in 101 games with the Sun Devils. And before that, again, he played 18 games for BC. So this is via Michigan Hockey's Future on Twitter. So if you follow the program, follow Michigan's Future or Hockey's Future on there, and I get a lot of my recruiting stuff from them, and they always keep me up to date because college hockey to me has just always been fascinating to how kids play in these different leagues. You have the minors, these all the and then you have them basically just like baseball. You're getting drafted essentially out of high school, and then you play so many years in college. Some a lot more than others. Um, Next, goaltender Logan Stein from Ferris State is coming in. He had a save percentage of 91% and allowed 2.90 goals allowed in 24 games for Ferris State that finished 63rd in the PWR. So, Michigan's big problem this past season was defense, even though they had some pretty good defensive players. It's just um, always inconsistent, sometimes fundamentals, but Seamus Casey is nothing to sneeze at, and they just they fell short at goaltender. Barczewski's a good kid, DJ Bartso, but that was their weak point, their defense, and they progressive they over time improved, down the stretch of the season, but that's something that they need to obviously fix and fill the hole because they're going to need a goaltender for sure. They had Augustine from Michigan State committed, and then he flipped to the Spartans. So he had a good year for them in East Lansing. So you need someone to fill the next role. Rucker McGroarty and Jacob Truscott will be back in Ann Arbor for one more season at least. So Rucker McGroarty and Rucker, I think, posted on social media that he goes, I'm back. So that's huge. There was talk that a couple of these guys were gonna do one more season. And so for sure, so far, Rucker McGroarty and Jake Petruscott will be. And I think Rucker definitely could use a third year. Very talented. It's just sometimes he's like if you don't really watch Michigan college hockey a lot, I guess, maybe I could be wrong, but from my opinion, I feel like he is kind of like the Jet Howard of the hockey team. Will just come out guns blazing in one game, fill it up, and then you just don't hear from him in the stat column for a little bit. You know what I mean? So good to see him come back. I think he could use it. Goaltender Jake Barcheski signed with the Colorado Eagles. Marshall Warren, he's going to go off to be a New York Islander. Stephen Holt signed with the Kalamazoo Wings. So if you guys are hearing these team names, obviously the Colorado Eagles and Kalamazoo Wings are not the NHL, but the New York Islanders is. Gavin Brindley, who was kind of rumored to come back to Ann Arbor, is going to be a Columbus Blue Jacket. He was named first team All American, and by the way, Rucker McGroarty was named second team All American. Now with Gavin Brindley, I don't know. I don't really follow Columbus Blue Jackets a whole lot, but obviously you got Fantilli there, and then you have their names are escaping me, but there's like two more Michigan players on that team. But I'm having a brain fart right now, and several of them are fairly recent, but whatever. Dylan Duke signs with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then Frank Nazar signed with the Chicago Blackhawks and scored in his first game the other night. So that's another part of college hockey that to me is just so fascinating. Is 1 second they're in college playing in the Frozen Four, and then less than a week later they're in a pro uniform and they're out there essentially in the first couple lines. So yeah, good to Frank Nazar. I was that was probably my biggest hopeful for someone to come back was him. With Brindley being close too, but yeah, number 91 uh, over there in Chi-Town. All right, before we get into segment two, which is going to include Michigan football, the Denard Robinson situation, and the mailbag, we got a sponsor. All right, Southeast Michigan podcast. When our community wins with us, we want to ensure you've maximized your ROI. Line shopping for the best odds matters, and that is why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books. Thankfully, there's never been a better time to get signed up, and we're here to connect you with the best promotions industry-wide. Using our link, signupexpert.com/southeast, you can get access to all the sports books in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique features. Most importantly, this page automatically connects you to the top promotions at each book, allowing you to start line shopping with enhanced bankroll. If you want to take advantage of these benefits, support our brand, please consider signing up for your next sports book at signupexpert.com/southeast. So if you are watching the screen right now, check it out. If you live in the state of Michigan, Caesar Sportsbook is giving you up to 1,000 back and bet credits. DraftKings match deposit bonus up to $1,000. And if you head over to the BetMGM app, you will get up to $1,500 in back, $1,500 back in back bet credits. SignUpExpert.com/southeast. All right, Maize and Blue fans, back for segment two. All right, let's get into some the nitty gritty of the Michigan football program here. So Denard Robinson gets in a single car accident on Monday morning at about 3 a.m. ish. Almost damn near the same time as the Greg Scruggs incident, but I'll say this, the Michigan high horse, it stops now. Thinking everybody affiliated with this program is better than everybody else might not ever go away, but we need to be real with ourselves and stop thinking, and I'm not even obviously I'm not graduated from U of M, right? But like we all fans, alums, we have to stop turning our noses up for other programs doing the same things that we're seeing. Shromore needs to nip this in the butt, and we cannot allow any more preventable things to happen. Stay out of the news in a negative light, whatever possible, and focus on continuing the momentum now seemingly lost after the Natty. Maybe that's a little over exaggeration on that back half there, but I'm like I said, I'm gonna revel in that championship win. But this is the trajectory isn't where you would like it to be after three college football playoff appearances, three Big Ten titles, three wins over Ohio State in a row, and the Natty, a Rose Bowl win, right? It's not where you want it to be. Recruiting is in a dry spell at the moment. I say dry spells. They haven't had a commit in a while, but they have had decommitments. They lost Chris Ewald, a phenomenal corner, and he's not counting Michigan out for good. But you have that feeling that once a player decommits, it's very highly unlikely that they're going to come back. Very rare. It seemed, I don't have the stats to prove it, but that's where I'm at. That's where my mindset's at. They've had positive visits. They've had, they've put their offers out there. Tony Alford coming in. They've put a few high prospects on campus for the official visits and stuff like that. But they need to go out and land these guys. Defensive back, they need to capitalize on. They got Carter Smith seemingly in the bag here for the near future, and you really hope that Jaden Davis shines when his time comes. But losing assistants this far in the offseason is inexcusable. Greg Scruggs resigns after, you know, repeating a mental mistake that he's done several times before in his life. I'm no perfect human, but uh, at some point, you can't keep getting caught doing it. It's obviously it's nothing cool about drinking and driving, but we're we're in the we're in the thick of trying to keep this program at the level it was last year, for as long as possible in an ever changing landscape. But last season Michigan was able to run up 15-0, despite all the off around the field stories, whatever you want to call it, which was quite remarkable if you think about it. I don't think many could to replicate that. You just cannot allow bad looks like Mozzie Smith. I know that was 2022, but Shemi Schembechler, the Michigan staffer who got caught soliciting a minor at a Walmart. I don't remember that doofus's name. Matt Weiss, Greg Scruggs, and of course now Denard, to derail the focus. And you've had problems with the basketball program too. It's just when you open up Twitter, when you check Facebook, when Bleacher Report or whatever comes across your phone, and it's just stuff that's just not good for the winged helmet or the block M, whatever. It's just nothing you do but roll your eyes. Like, here we go again. Like, can we not shoot ourselves in the foot? I know people are human, right? People make mistakes. You have a lot of these young kids that come from all different types of backgrounds and whatever, but you have to nip it in the butt and keep it non-existent, a minimum. I'm not saying cover up things and lose control, but it's been Michigan's had its issues for a long time, even back to the Rich Rodriguez days. We covered that in our After Ann Arbor segment last month. We did a quick bit on Justin Fagan, and if you don't remember Justin Fagan, he was a um, unranked quarterback slash athlete, and he comes in and has to work his way behind Tate Forcier, Denard, and Devin Gardner, and gets busted screwing around with coke and a fire in a dorm, and it's just one thing after another. What was it? You had Frank Clark, Taylor Lewan, Brendan Gibbons. It's just like it just constantly something always is going on. And this is all besides the Connor Stallions thing, which again, like I alluded to earlier, we will talk about more when all that stuff comes to light again and the investigation starts to get a little bit more juicier Again, I don't think you're going to see anything about vacated wins, but with Connor Stallions, I've asked this question briefly before, probably right around November-ish. Where is the surveillance footage of Connor apparently being at these, or him or his cronies at these other stadiums? I'm not talking about him him probably being the one on the Central Michigan sideline, right? It's probably him. But what I'm saying is like, the Ryan Walters, Purdue's head coach, said that they have surveillance footage. I think Brett Bielema said something about along the lines as well. It's like if we have actual footage of this dude videotaping sidelines or somebody videotaping sidelines, not stories, actually evidence. I'm not talking about a message board room like, hey, sit next to this dude in section 6 and he was like, dude, I got this guy from Michigan, I'm about, I'm taking, I'm not talking about that, like actual evidence. We have to see it. We have yet to see it. It was like said out there publicly that it was concrete, that they have the visual. Haven't seen anything like that yet. Now, we also need to prove, or they need to prove, that it led to an obvious advantage over the other team. So we've learned last year that Ryan Walters, the goofus substitute teacher for Michigan State, Harlan Bennett, I think is his name, you know, our players' safety is in jeopardy because they know our plays and beforehand too. Okay, whatever, dude. We only have a less than a week to change our signs, and that's just impossible. So let me get this straight. So the Michigan players, let's say, devil's advocate here, let's say that they were stealing signs, and every Michigan player on the defense, starters, backups, practice squad, everybody knew the signs, right? But think about the logistics here. So you got Connor Stallions on the sideline, standing next to either Jim Harbaugh or Jesse Minter, whatever. And he sees the signs being thrown out there across the sideline, across the field. Then he then decodes it on his paper, and then within 10 seconds or less, a lot less than that, say 5 seconds, to then relay the info back to the players to audible to this play after they've already been told this is what defense we're having out there. And then, nope, they're going to run this play, so we go to audible, we got to change that. And so now, like I said, you had these opponents saying, oh, they had less than a week to change. It's monumental, can't do it. So Michigan players have to know upwards of what? How many teams was it? Like 30 teams they said but he bought tickets for? So let's say 16. They gotta prepare for 16, 17 different teams signs, their own and then their opponents. It's just way too much is going on here. Way too much is going on here. Now I know most programs have sign stealers. It's not illegal. Obviously, it was by the means of everything, right? But like, I mean, was it really that intricate? I mean, that's a lot to know. Let's be honest with ourselves. It's a lot to know in a short amount of time. But again, we will get into that. I've kind of trailed off there about the counter standards thing, but I just had to make that point there. Again, still no video footage of anything like that. A lot of message board material, and that's about it. So we'll see. You have to prove to me, in my opinion, you have to prove that there was a clear, obvious advantage. Because guess what? When Connor Stallings was on the sideline, they didn't have the signal stealers, whatever, on there. They went out and still won. They still dominated. And, the second half, they completely shut teams out because they got to, obviously there's second half adjustments, people. It's not a new strategy. People make changes all the time at halftime, right? Don Brown can do that. That's why we got absolutely smothered and obliterated by Ohio State. Rain man coverage was obvious, never changed the signs. They had his signs. All right, so that's enough of that. Let's get into um, the mailbag. So I appreciate you guys chiming in. Give me something to give more of my thoughts and opinions out there. All three of our listeners who wrote in are a long time and very much appreciated for the support. So, Jeff Johnson on the first one here goes very open ended question. What is Michigan football today? So, with it being an open ended question, I'm going to answer it in this way Michigan is your undisputed 2023-2024 national champions with a new head coach and staff implementing their own flavor of the Jim Harbaugh / Baltimore Ravens system, leaving the traditional layout we grew up with going forward into the new era of college football. That seems wildly unpredictable. So, there you go. Jamie Lato, a long-time listener, one of my best friends. Appreciate you, my man. He asked, still early, what do you think of Michigan basketball and the moves Dusty May is making? I'm excited. So, I mean, it's always exciting when a new coach comes in that really wants to be here and, is ready to roll up his sleeves. I don't know a lot about his assistants, but he filled those roles. Was it one's from Georgia, one's from St. Mary's, and then was the other one a FAU guy? I can't remember. Either way, he's got all three of them in place. And we know that John Beilein is still kind of that mentor type deal, and I'm sure we'll see John Beilein from time to time during this Dusty May run. Let's see here, nothing official, but Vlad Golden would be a huge addition after Reed left. If you guys don't know who Vlad Golden is a 7'1" center that was an Owl for Dusty May, and he is in the transfer portal. He's one of the many FAU kids in the portal, and it's again nothing official. It's not in the directory yet, but it's trending that way. So we've seen with Michigan, with Caleb Love, Terrence Shannon. Let's just wait till it's official online. You see it from either the university or the player itself, because don't need someone to commit and then be like, nah, your credits aren't transferring. See ya. But again, several key transfer guys we're looking at. Michigan's kind of in the running for. Like I said, a couple of them are the FAU kids. Dusty isn't the guy who's going to bring in a ton of baggage or drama, and I think Michigan could really prosper underneath him. I think he's got a lot of respect from his peers, so we'll see. It's unfortunate the way Juwan Howard went out, and obviously performance was bad as a team, and some of the on-court antics was a big no-no. So move on, stay positive. Not saying this team's going to run for a Big Ten championship, but I think that they had to add a few more pieces, fill the holes. I mean, just want to be competitive. Steal a couple wins against some ranked opponents, beat a rival once or twice. I'd be happy with that, at least in year one. Another one of our longtime listeners here and at Real Talk with Jeff and myself, Jen Fisher. What position is most concerning this upcoming season? And she's talking about the football team. So this one's maybe not long-winded, but you can make a case for two different positions. One being more general of calling the secondary, but for me, it's the wide receivers. So Darius Clemens gone, Carmelo English gone, Iman Dennis gone, and now Christian Dixon, as of this morning, gone. Now Clemens and English are more of the high-profile names, but each hurts even more after you lose Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson to the draft. Their best wide receivers are currently probably Frederick Moore, Tyler Morris, and Samaj Morgan. And none of those guys are really the big physical, go up and get it type guys. They're like AJ Henning, guys that can run the quick routes, the end around, stuff like that. And they have two incoming freshmen, Amarian Stewart and Jane Davis's teammate Channing Goodwin in the fall, but those guys are just like the three I just mentioned. They're under 180, hovering around 6 foot. Now I know I have read a few reports that Michigan was reaching out a month ago or so to some wide receivers in the portal, but nothing obviously transpired during this closed off period. I think what one was maybe a Ohio Bobcat, like the University of Ohio, maybe. Remember he was wearing like a green jersey. Maybe it was Tulane or South Florida, something like that. There was a couple of guys that they were talking to, but either one stayed where he was already enrolled at, or they chose a different school. I can't remember. Um, and so again, with Iman Dennis, special teamer type, and Christian Dixon, who's going to be in his last year of eligibility, and he's a 4-star wide receiver, so obviously didn't really pan out for him at Michigan. Um, we're talking about depth here, right? And experience. Now, Penn State wide receiver Keandre Lambert Smith plans on entering the portal. Now, he isn't a big frame guy either, but he's got 4 years of experience, and roughly he's at like between 45, 50 catch guy, 600 yards. And I think the most he's ever caught as a Nittany Lion was 4 touchdowns in a season, and he's done it twice. So, again, long-winded answer there, but that's where I'm at with that position. I think the wide receiver position is the most concerning to me. Now, if you want to get freaky, want to get froggy, you always put Colson Loveland out, kind of like how they did with uh, I can't believe his name is escaping me. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Devin Funchess. Jesus. Maybe they split him out, Devin Funchess type role, and they start elevating the tight ends underneath him more. Remains to be seen. Last but not least, Jeff Johnson writes in again. What does a successful first season look like for Coach Moore in 2024? So, winning no less than 9 games. Michigan got the gauntlet paid in full after having a softer intro of last year. Most of the heavy hitters are coming to Ann Arbor, right? So, that's good news, I guess. You have Texas week 2, which this time around, like 2021, we can't be holding quarterback tree outs. You know, you get the first half. You get this. Can't do that. I think when you have a quarterback solidified by beginning of week 1 and you ride it, you ride it. You give him the first 2 weeks. Doesn't pan out against Texas. That's going to be your first big challenge. You know what team after week 2. You know what you're going to have. USC. Even though they aren't the same as the last 2 years, no Caleb Williams Caleb Williams. The defense, I'd imagine, is still, until proven otherwise, USC's defense is still going to be softer than soft, right? And they're coming to the Big Ten. So we're way, way far away from season previews, stuff like that. But we're going to be doing it again like we did last year, a couple teams each week. And before I even get into their roster, I would assume USC's defense still has a lot to improve and prove in general. You have Oregon and MSU back-to-back weeks. So, I don't expect MSU to set the world on fire, but they got a new head ball coach, Jonathan Smith. They got a lot of energy in the practice facility right now. So, you know, they're going to be always a tough out, regardless of record and everything like that. So you're going to have an emotional game there to follow that up with Oregon. Again, luckily those two are at home. And then, of course, you have the pit stop in Columbus. And so depth is going to be a highlight. And knock on wood, if they get banged up, there's going to be a lot of fresh meat getting some much needing stepping up. So, yeah, 9 wins, I think, is would be something that I'd be okay with. Now, that's me talking right here on April 17th, um, in 65-degree Southeast Michigan. But you and I have talked about it before, Jeff. We're just, again, basking in the glory that is the national championship, right? And so if Michigan doesn't come, if they go into the season, then I don't set the world on fire. They don't repeat. They don't get to the Big Ten championship. You know, it's not going to be the end of the world, right? A lot of Ohio State fans, if they do take care of Michigan, and the Michigan fans are going to be like, "Yeah, we're national champions," be like, "Stop living in the past," and all that. The stupid internet banter is just going to be an all-time high, as it usually is, right? But it's going to be bitter, because Michigan football is our religion, right? But I think it's going to have an easier aftertaste. I don't think it's going to be tough to swallow, is what we normally would say 9 wins would be. So there we have it. There's the mailbag. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the answers I gave. I try to keep them. I like to answer them like these sometimes, like that. I kind of elaborate, and sometimes I trail off, but I feel like that was pretty decent. So I appreciate y'all listening. Thank you again for writing in the mailbag, and definitely do that some more. And now that college hockey is over, Tigers baseball's in full swing. Look to be probably just more portal updates, recruiting updates, and again, I always say this, but I want to keep doing more of the documentary reviews, but just time has just not been my friend this winter as I thought it would have been. Either way, like, share, subscribe, hit that like, or excuse me, hit that bell button on YouTube, and follow me on Twitter. Hit me up on Facebook, join the page. All that will be in that description box. So, go blue. Excited for college hockey this coming up season, as well as football, as well as basketball, and just really looking forward to getting nice weather outside. Going to go to some music shows, festivals, enjoy barbecuing, poolside stuff like that, vacations. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun summer. I can't wait. But uh, also go Tigers. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.